So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about understanding addiction, why it's important to try and put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, so somebody that has an addiction. And we're going to do a bit of an exercise today as well. So you might want to grab a wee pen and paper if you want to make some notes, but you don't have to. So the reason why it's so important for us to understand addiction is because when we know what's going on for somebody, we can then be more compassionate towards them. We can be more compassionate and less judgmental to the difficulties that they might be going through. So what we'll do in this exercise is look at different substances that you may use, all legal ones of course, because once we can recognise that actually, okay, I might be using these substances for these different reasons, and I know actually that would be difficult for me to stop using these substances, then we can relate to that other person who is experiencing addiction as well. So let's fire away then. So the different substances that you may use, that are commonly used, are things like tea and coffee, alcohol, tobacco, chocolate and Coca-Cola or other sugary drinks. So what I want you to do is think about, of those different substances, which ones do you use? Once you know which ones you use, think about then how often do you use those substances. So for example, with tea and coffee, do you use that every day? Do you have a coffee in the morning, a cup of tea when you come home in the evening? Alcohol, is that something you use every day or is that on a weekend? With tobacco, again, is that something you use every day or is it something actually that you used to use but now you never use it at all? Chocolate, is that something you have on a weekly basis? And the same with sugary drinks like Coca-Cola. So I want you to think about, is that something that you use daily, weekly, monthly, less than monthly? So you sometimes use it or you never use it at all. And once you've kind of got those ideas into your head about, okay, this is what I use, then I want you to think about, why do you use those substances, okay? What do you get out of those different drugs? So it could be for a cup of coffee. What I commonly hear is, it gets my day off to a good start. So you're in that bit of a routine when you're having a cup of tea or a cup of coffee in the morning, and then you might have one at 11 o'clock and then one when you come home from work, for example. Alcohol. So with alcohol, people often tell me that they'll use alcohol to help them unwind or to relax after a really busy week. It might be that actually that you're using it as a bit of a celebration or a bit of a treat perhaps. You might be out in social situations, so you feel like you want to have a drink of alcohol. With tobacco, again, people will tell me that they might use tobacco when they're feeling maybe particularly stressed. It's their go-to when they're feeling stressed. For chocolate, a lot of people tell me that chocolate brings them pleasure and comfort as well. And then with things like sugary drinks, again, for a lot of people, that tends to be a habit when they're drinking sugary drinks, but it gives them a little bit of energy as well. So just take some time to think about different substances and why you use those as well. What do you get out of those different things? It might be completely different to some of the reasons that I've given there already. Then next, I want you to think about, have you ever tried to stop using these substances or cut down how much you might use them? So for example, I'll use my mum as an example. She tried to cut down how much coffee that she would drink because she drank a lot of coffee. But when she stopped drinking so much coffee, she would get a headache. So you're experiencing withdrawal effects there because you're not having that same amount that you're used to. And again, that is similar to alcohol or other drugs. When you're cutting down, you may experience withdrawal effects from that substance. Tobacco, if you were smoking, whether that be cigarettes or a vape, for example, What was that like when you tried to cut down or stop? Sometimes people might feel that they're quite irritable when they're cutting down or they're stopping smoking. They've not got that go-to there anymore for when they're feeling pretty stressed. People are told when they're trying to cut down how much chocolate they might have, that they're sat at home thinking about chocolate. And again, when somebody is trying to reduce their alcohol use, they're trying to stop using drugs, they're also going to be having thoughts about using that substance again, just like all these other substances that we've talked through here today. So think about, when I've stopped, what made that difficult? Could there have been life events that happened that made it more challenging to be able to put that substance down and say, I'm not going to have that, or I'm actually going to cut down and stick to that? What made it difficult to be able to stick to that change in behaviour that you were hoping to achieve? Because when we can think about that, about what made it difficult for us, we can relate it to your loved one. Then lastly, what would make it harder to stop using altogether? So if I were to say you've got to stop drinking 8 cups of coffee a day, how would that make you feel? Might make you feel a little bit nervous, a bit panicked. Think, oh, okay. You might think, actually, yeah, that would be easy. I could do that, no problem. And actually, if you think that, it's maybe worth trying that out, is to see, okay, I do drink 8 cups of coffee a day. Could I cut it down to 6, to 4? Now, when I'm doing this exercise, I'm in no means saying that you've got to stop using these substances at all. I'm in no way saying that you have an addiction to these substances. I'm just asking these questions to help you to think a little bit more about why you use these substances yourself. So I relate this to an iceberg, okay? So an iceberg, you can see what's on the surface, okay? You can see that somebody's using drugs or alcohol. You can see that. But then there's all that underneath. And that's the bit that we're trying to think about today is, okay, what is going on underneath for this person? Why are they using these substances? What do they get out of them? Does it help them just to function? A little bit like your cup of coffee in the morning. That helps you to get your day started. Does it help them to cope with stressful events, just like smoking a cigarette might do? Does it help them to relax and to unwind, just like eating a bar of chocolate might do, or having a drink in social situations? Does it help that person to feel like they can fit into that environment? So think about what would make it difficult for you to stop. As I say, it might be some significant life events, it can be stress, and then if you can understand, actually this would be difficult for me, then you can put yourself into that other person's shoes and recognise that that can be challenging for them also. So I hope you found this video helpful. There's going to be a video on the cycle of change, which is going to give you more information about the journey that somebody will go through when they have an addiction and they're heading into recovery. So I think it's definitely worthwhile checking out that video too. So thanks for listening today, and I hope it's been helpful.